Hey, my friends, what's going on? This is Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. Feeling a little goofy this morning. Hopefully, you guys are doing fantastic, having a great Thursday. I almost said Wednesday. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what day it is. And yes, we have a fantastic returning guest today. The owner of motherhoodsimplified.com, Krista. Krista Lockwood is actually a returning guest. As I said, we've talked to her before, and she provided so much value. We had such a great time. We asked her to come back. Krista, welcome back to the show.
Hi. Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here again. This is one of the most fun shows I've done, so I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
Well, you're there, but we're happy to have you here, which is the cool thing about doing online marketing, right? Is that you can really do it from the comfort of your own home. I assume that's where you're at right now?
Yep. Yeah, I'm at home. My husband's upstairs with our smallest two. So, yeah.
Smallest
nice to
two.
be
How
able
many?
to, do it all from home.
Remind the audience how many there are total.
Yeah, we have 5 total. So,
Wow.
yeah. The
Let's
littlest ones are 3 and 5.
Let's just all take that in for a minute.
Right. Yeah.
So okay. Wow. So, how the heck do you have time to do anything besides? I would assume does your husband work and you're kind of besides this amazing internet marketing business that you have, is your other responsibility and job kind of taking care of the kids and stay-at-home mom, if you will?
Yeah. Yep. So we've done that dynamic where he's also an entrepreneur, and so he goes and does that. And we've had seasons of me being able to help him with parts of his business, and we're moving into a season of being able to do that again, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he does the majority of that. I do the majority of kids stuff, and it works. And the thing about me starting an online business was that I knew there was potential for me to make it work even better and longer term for our family, so that it could be more of us just having businesses that support our lives instead of lives that support our businesses, which is ultimately what I want the most. So yeah, that's what we're working on. And the way that I find time for it with 5 kids is having a business model that works around my life, right? Which is one thing that I'd like to tell moms is you can create businesses that work around your life online, because everything is so flexible. And so the things that I do, I have to do very efficiently, but I also make sure that they can be done at any time. When it comes to like passive income, there's not really anything passive that I've found completely about passive income. But what I have found is that I can do passive work to generate that income, which is what I need as a mom. I can do work early mornings. I don't have to be on demand, like live coaching people one-on-one. So yeah, that's kind of the distinction that I've made. It's like I do passive work for income.
Yeah, I can understand that. And you're not, I can understand that passive work for you. You're saying that you define that as kind of putting the work in the pockets that you have time, but the family and activities that you have going on with your kids, if you can, you're going to prioritize those, and those are going to take over the majority of the heart of your day. Is that what you're saying? And you're kind of passively find these pockets. And if one pops up one day, that's great during the middle of the day, but most of the time, where those passive pockets are going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key, is that it's not passive in that I'm complacent. It's passive in that it can be super flexible. And because I chose a business model that is selling courses and I do a podcast, like I just have to create that upfront one time. I can do that at any time of the day. I can do it all in one day. I can do it over the course of 2 weeks. Like I can be flexible about it, but I can't be complacent about it.
Yeah.
I have to actually schedule it in. And so that's the beauty of an online business, I think, especially when you have kids or you have a really busy life or you have another full-time job, is viewing it in that way, is that instead of like seeking passive income, it shifted a lot for me. And I was like, I'm going to seek the passive work to generate just regular income, right? Like just money. It's all the same. I think there's just weird like fluffed up beliefs around like what passive income actually looks like.
Yeah. And
It
how much you need and how much like what is even realistic, what's reasonable to expect, you know.
Mhm.
My plan has become very simple, and it's grown into quite a nest egg, whatever you want to call it. It's grown into quite a, you know, it's a good strategy. And what it's been is just treating my business just kind of like the cash cow that it is and can be, because selling information can be a cash cow business. And what I mean by cash cow is it's just pumps out cash with very little expense, right? There's time, sweat equity that you have to put in. And if you're running ads, sure, there's advertising costs, but the rest of it is just, it's just your time, right? And so I've got this cash cow business that really, even if I'm making only a couple of thousand or all the way up to tens or hundreds of thousands a month, I can then take that money that I worked for in those passive ways as you described, and I can then take that money that I made, and instead of just keeping it in a savings account, or instead of just, you know, only being able to pay my bills barely with it, now I have more money. I and my wife have bought index funds. We've bought long-term rentals, right? We actually just bought another one. And these are ways that we turn kind of the cash flow into passive income, instead of trying to. There's so many entrepreneurs who come online, and especially over the last couple of years, got caught up in the investment kind of, like investing was a business, like with crypto and NFTs and all these. And that's not a business. As a matter of fact, as we all saw, that was a disaster for a lot of people. And so staying focused on your cash cow, cash flow business is another word that may feel like it fits better for some of you. And then learning how to take the money that you make and actually make smart, simple, safe investments. Do you have anything to add to how you and your husband have taken your entrepreneurial businesses and began to build actual wealth on the back end? Has it looked at all like what I just laid out differently, etc.?
Yeah, I have a couple things. So we're not quite there yet where we're able to do that. But have you ever played or heard of the game Cash Flow by uh,
Robert
Kiyosaki?
Kiyosaki, yeah.
Yes. Have you
Yeah,
ever played it?
yeah. I haven't, but it's built off of the cash flow quadrant
Mhm.
concept, and we actually recommend all of our students read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So go ahead.
Yeah.
We know who he is.
Yeah. Well, we have 5 kids, right? And the oldest ones are 11, 13, and 17. And I got them that game a couple of years ago because I was like, oh, like he knows what he's talking about. And they're a little bit too young for it, but we play that game and it's modeled after like real life, where in the beginning you're doing kind of like what you have to do. You have to figure out how to generate income. You have to figure out how to make those smart, lower risk decisions and investments in things like index funds. In the game, they've got them. I don't remember what they call them. I think they just call them stocks.
ETFs,
Yeah.
index funds, stocks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Equities.
Yes. And then they have the option to do things like buy small properties. They walk you through how to like create a mortgage and figure out your cash flow. And then the whole point of the game is get to the point where you have enough passive income to make
Mm-hmm.
those bigger ones. And once you get to the outside loop of the game, like it goes very fast and it's very simple and it's very easy. And so I like that game because it kind of like trains your mind to play that in a real world way. It's also training my kids to like see that from a
Yeah.
very young age in a kind of realish way. Um, but yeah, that's the goal for us too.
I love
Is
that. I love that. I
get
love
to
that.
that point.
And and really, if you don't take, and we're going to talk about marketing, we're going to talk about Krista's content, we're going to talk about how you're building a business from kind of a small audience, right?
Mhm.
That it doesn't seem to, for you anyways, take, you know, millions of followers or hundreds of thousands. But one last thought from me anyways about the kind of building wealth out of this. We all really have a chance. And yes, the game is called Cash Flow, and I'm
Mhm.
sure you can buy it on Amazon for
Amazon.
those of you who are asking. And it's a game by Kiyosaki, who also writes Rich Dad Poor Dad, so pretty congruent. Um, Look, a lot of times if we don't set these things up, we aren't going to do them either. Like the investment pieces, like beginning to buy like index funds, stocks, and that would be a great example. It's hard to kind of set up buying real estate but automate it.
Yeah.
But there's like, for example, I bank with Bank of America, and then I have my investment account with Merrill Edge, and you can log into each, you know what I mean? It's connected. I think Bank of America bought Merrill. So it's real easy to kind of work within the two platforms and just set up hey, invest $100 in this main index fund every week for me automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as for those of you who are just getting started out, take into consideration some of those pieces, because you don't need to wait to invest. You don't need to wait to begin building wealth. You really can take even right now, if some of you still have jobs, begin to invest money more just put a little bit away in some sort of an investment instrument. Again, this is not financial advice, and you shouldn't take any financial advice from me. But look into that, because you can do, and especially as you begin to build your business, investing back into your business, investing to your education, paying bills, all those are smart. But also think about the future. Throw $100 into something each week or each month, whatever you can afford, because I'll tell you what, it also feel like you're building something and it'll add another level of satisfaction to this process.
Can I add one more thing to that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously I have 5 kids, and it's important for me for them to see these things and like learn these things at a younger age, because I never saw any of that as a kid. And we got them debit cards through like Greenlight. It's also not a promotion. Like I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but
Yeah.
it's like a little online bank. And we saw on there that they have like high yield savings options too, with like a 5% return. And so my husband was like, hey kids, like you have this cash in these accounts, and if we just move it over to a savings account, you get a 5%, high yield savings account. You're making money on the money that you don't spend. And so I thought that was like a cool option too, when it comes to like low risk options, right? Like you have to start somewhere, and doing anything is better than doing nothing. And yeah, I think it's really cool to be able to have that set up for my kids, and they can see that, and they can see things like, oh, I got 5% back on my money, and they can set their own savings goals. For like my daughter set a savings goal to have $50 to spend on herself for Valentine's Day. I'm like, great. Like, yeah, move your money around and get used to doing that and setting those goals and seeing what it actually feels like and works and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I mean, I really love that. You guys are doing some great work with your kids. There's so many cool things that we can do, and that's definitely one of them. Just to be a little bit more specific about, because I hate when people are, so ambiguous that they are like, well, yeah, here's kind of what you should do, but like what I do is the index funds that I have bought, just so everybody is clear about this, are index funds called VTI, Vanguard Total Stock Market, VOO, Vanguard 500 Index Fund, VGT, Vanguard Information Fund, SCHD, is a Schwab US Dividend Equity Fund. These are all kind of high dividend ETFs, VYM, NOBL, Noble, and VUG. And I'll actually take a screenshot of these and then put it up for everybody, just so you can kind of see the act. And you know what I did? I just got obsessed about this, and I said, hey, look, I started making some money, and I had somebody else managing my money, and I realized the high fees that I was paying. And I said, hey, let me spend 6 months. And you can ask my wife. I was out in the garage every night for 6 months, just watching, YouTube videos, going through courses, all this different kind of stuff, trying to learn about the stock market, trying to learn about index funds, trying to learn about ETFs and where I could invest my money. And these were what I came up with. This is just investments that I make. These are just places that I put my money in, these index funds. You could pick one, you could pick none. Please consult with a financial advisor. Absolutely. I am not a financial advisor. I'm a 9th grade dropout who teaches marketing. Okay. So consider that when you're making financial decisions. But you know what? These strategies, these ideas are the same ideas that I got from guys like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. So it's not like I pulled them out of my butt. Warren Buffett said, hey, when I die, I want all my wealth put into a single index fund so it's easily manageable by my wife. And the truth is, most stockbrokers don't beat the average market, which is about 10% growth per year for the last 100 years. So we don't have to get caught up into the crypto BS, all the shiny objects. And we're going to move on from investment now and talk about marketing. How do you, Krista, avoid the shiny objects of this new business model, that new business model, that new method you could make money with? How do you stay focused on what you're doing? And by the way, just for everybody tuning in, Krista is focused on really helping mothers to declutter, reorganize, and I'd say simplify their life.
Yeah.
So how do you not get distracted and stay on message? I mean, it's also a rather niche business. It's not like, I mean, you can go to your profiles and see there's not hundreds of thousands of followers. You've got a small, I'd say, engaged audience. So how are you staying, and how have you stayed focused and not deviated?
Yeah. Part of it, so I think it's two things. Part of it is I didn't really have a choice because I've got a lot of kids. I don't have a lot of time to put to this. And so I kind of knew in my mind I had to pick one direction that made the most sense. And for me, when I started, that was my Facebook group, which is my biggest platform. We've got like 45,000 people in there. So that's the biggest space. But yes, it is
And this is
very
a Facebook
engaged.
group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like a private group. Just because moms share photos of their homes and stuff and they want it to be private.
Understood.
One reason I chose that platform, right? I was like, I don't really want to do Instagram because people can't collaborate and share. They're going to need to see like photos of their spaces. So,
Right.
part of it was I didn't really have a choice. I knew I had like time to focus on one platform and I had time to focus on like offering one specific kind of thing. I don't have a lot of time to like, should I do in person? Should I do a one-on-one? Should I do like groups? Like, what should I do? I just picked the thing that I knew I would have the time for, which was creating courses, because I would literally record them at like 4 a.m. when the baby was asleep. And I stuck with that. But as my kids got older and as I started moving into like needing more help with like figuring out marketing and sales and systems and things like that, I did get shiny object syndrome. And it's almost like a constant battle, I think, of seeing like, oh, well, this person does this and it's working for them, or that person does that and it's working for them, and me wanting to go and doing that. But I don't know if I don't know what it is. If I'm like, I just don't have time for it. I can't even entertain the idea of trying something else like that because I simplify everything, right? Like that's a theme across my entire life. If it complicates things, I don't really want to try it. But I do fall into that, and I have fallen into that. I definitely fell into that in 2022 the most, I think. And it wasn't even shiny object syndrome, I think, in that I wanted to chase something new. It was almost like a shiny object syndrome of like doing the thing that I've done in the past that I know worked and it stopped working. And then wanting to make that like a shiny object and being like, it's not working. That wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just a bad like month or two. It was a pretty steady decline at the end of the year of where like my engagement was dropping, my sales were dropping, my podcast listens were still doing okay, but like nothing was growing. And so at the end of the year in December, I had to look at it and be like, what I'm doing is not working. So then at some point, you have to go find something new, right? And for me, I'm like, is this shiny object syndrome? How do I not go seek the solution that is like, it looks like a shiny object? Like, how do I find something that works? And I did. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to add anything? Okay.
I mean, this is both strategy and story. So we're learning and being entertained. At least I am anyways. Please continue. Yeah.
Okay.
Where is this? Where is this story going to end? No one knows except you. Tell us.
It ends here today. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, in December, I'm like, this didn't work. 2022, it was okay, but it definitely was not like it was in 2021. So I have to figure out what to do.
Okay.
And I'm like looking at the things I've done in the past, the systems that I've used in the past when it comes to market research, engagement, like getting feedback from my customers. And I'm like, it's just not working. Right. I used to have the type of engagement in my Facebook group where I could just ask a question and I would get good enough market research.
Mhm.
But that I was like, I don't think that's working anymore. Right. Like what I'm saying is not resonating with people like it used to. And it's the same stuff that I used to say. And so I'm like, I have to figure out how to do it. Right. So I did the whole like send out an email and ask them like, the one-liner question of like, hey, what do you think about this? Right. And I didn't get response like I used to. And I was like, okay, so still not working. I would post things in my group just in different ways. And I'm like, it's still not working, like getting super frustrated. And I had this moment where I've talked to a couple of my business friends about it, where I'm like, I almost felt a little bit entitled in my own business, where I'm like, I really don't want to do what I'm about to have to do. And that is get on an actual like Zoom call with my customers, with people in my audience, and have a conversation with them to be like, what is going on with you? Like, what are the problems you're experiencing? What are your frustrations? What are the things that you want? What do you need? Like, and I didn't want to do it because I'm like, man, like I've had this for 4 years and it's been great. Like, why do I felt like taking a step backwards almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did it.
Okay.
I put out a thing and was like, does anybody want to get on like a 15-minute call with me? I just have some questions to ask you about like clutter in your home and what it's actually like being a mom inside of your home. And I expected to get like no responses. um, and I offered in exchange like a free workshop that I have that's like not available to anybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So, and that's important to mention that you
yes.
you you did frame it to your audience as that there was what I would call a free gift or a lead magnet, something
Mhm.
to attract them on, and what's in it for me, right? Okay,
Yes.
you're getting this information from me. Great. I'm taking time out of my busy day as a mom to get on this Zoom call with you. What's in it for me? So you did address that and you gave something away.
Yes. And I know a lot of people do like, no offense to anybody who does this, but there's a lot of people who do like a $5 Starbucks gift card. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work for people. Like, I don't want to offer like a $5 gift card. So I offered one of my like retired workshops. And I
Mm,
did that because I didn't want them to think they were going to be able to get on a call with me and just ask me questions about how to declutter their home. I wanted it to be like, I'm going to ask you questions just about what it's like. And in exchange, I'm going to give you this workshop that's going to be really helpful for you,
yeah,
because I wanted my time. I wanted to be able to ask them these questions.
absolutely.
So I didn't think I would get any responses. I set out like 10 slots to do it in a day. And I ended up having to add 2 more days. So I had like 3 back-to-back days, back-to-back calls, like all day long, just talking with these moms, asking them the same questions. And I was like, okay, that's great. I'm going to get some good information, but I bet you like most of them no show or at least half of them no show because they're busy moms.
Yeah.
Nobody canceled on me. Not a
Wow.
single person canceled on me. And
Wow.
so, yeah, that was in December. I had these calls and just went through some pretty basic stuff of like, pains, struggles, what's going on, asking them, like pulling out like one layer deeper of like, okay, I know you want to have a clean house, but like, why?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have a clean house. Why do you want it as a mom?
Right.
And I got the answers I was looking for.
Mm,
I changed all of my sales pages to match that. I changed my sales sequences. I changed all of like the social content that I put out there.
mm,
And there were some really big changes. Just, I don't know if it's, when I say it out loud, I'm like, well, I started this 4.5 years ago. Of course, the messaging would be at least a little bit different, right?
yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of it's the same, but a lot of it is different. And those small changes really mattered. So
Mm,
then after that, my engagement is back up, my sales are back up,
mm,
but even
mm,
better, like I feel more confident in what I offer now. Because I'm
yeah.
like, oh, people like this now. Before, when people aren't buying your stuff, it is a kind of a confidence killer where you're like, do I
Totally.
suck? Does my
Oh my
stuff
God.
suck? I don't think it
It's
sucks.
It's like, yeah, like kind of like not getting picked on the basketball court,
Yeah.
not getting asked to the dance type of feeling, right? It's like, oh, what's wrong with my stuff?
Yeah. So yeah. And so confidence is up and it's just kind of an upward spiral. So if you're
Nice.
feeling stuck, everybody.
Do some market research for Christmas sakes and find out what in the heck people are actually wanting. Now, there's a couple of reasons why this could have happened. We don't know. We don't know why maybe the messaging just got like over hammered. Maybe too many
Mhm.
people were saying the same things out there and you needed to come with something that felt different. I know that's happened in my niche many times over the last 10 years. You know, it's kind of like getting up to speed. Like in my niche right now, everybody, the make money online, the online marketing, people are talking about artificial intelligence. They're talking about, they're now back talking about affiliate marketing again, like it's something
Oh.
new because drop shipping and crypto didn't work out for everybody. And yeah, you do have to adjust the messaging. I even went on to call kind of affiliate marketing and course creation. We teach core 4 business models, 4 ways to sell information, courses, coaching, and events, and do affiliate marketing. Well, I call that freelance digital marketing instead of just affiliate marketing because, right, too many people would hear that affiliate marketing word and prejudge it.
Mhm.
And so I've evolved that messaging. What do you think it was for you? What do you think? And give us an example of one of the changes that you made, and let us kind of see that contrast between that messaging, because I think a lot of people really think that I'm just supposed to be able to, if I put videos on the internet, I should get something in return, right? It's
Mhm.
kind of like a little bit of an employee mindset. Well, I've put up the videos, but what we say in the messaging in the videos is so important. So give us an example of kind of that contrast.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that when I first started that moms would say, like they couldn't declutter because they don't have time, because they've got like small babies at home, and their spouses aren't on board, or like their spouses don't want to do it, or their spouses don't help enough. And one of the biggest things that I heard, or that I didn't hear, that I used to hear all of the time, is that their husbands aren't willing to help. And I don't know, there's kind of a trend like with a lot of parents. I haven't looked into it, but everybody references it in my group called Fair Play, which I guess is a book and a community and a movement about delegating household responsibilities fairly between moms and dads, right? And so I'm like, is it because a lot of my followers and people on Facebook, it's kind of an older demographic, so maybe their kids are older, so they do have more time. Maybe they are reading this like Fair Playbook and they do feel like they have more support. But the things that they are struggling the most with is, which they'd never talked about before either, they did, but just not a lot, is decision making. They don't know how to make decisions on what to keep and not keep, and they don't know where to take it. That's the biggest thing right now is they're like, I don't know where to take my stuff. And I've seen this trend too
What
in
a
my,
thunk.
yeah, I've seen it. And we saw it in 2020 a lot. And so part of me thinks it might be that where like thrift stores and Goodwills and stuff would get like trashed overnight. People just dump stuff in the parking lots. And so
Mm,
these thrift stores and these donation centers are really, some of
mm,
them already are, but they're getting there where they're really strict about what they will accept for donations. So these moms, they don't know where to take their stuff and they can't sell it because nobody wants it. And it's kind of like this, we are in a weird season of overconsumption where we're
mm.
dealing with like all of this stuff in our houses that nobody wants. Um,
Wow. Wow.
so yes, I
That's
I
in,
added that into my key messaging and people are like, "Oh my gosh, yes, like give me creative ideas on what to do with this stuff, how to get rid of it and have the biggest thing that people are engaging with now is me teaching them how to stop the incoming flow of stuff for their kids, like stop buying them things they don't need, stop buying them things that they're going to play with for a few days and let go of,
yeah.
stop buying them closets full of clothes when they're going to outgrow them in a
Yeah.
month, right?
Oh my God.
um
This is a big thing. I think with families with children, and then I don't know whose family I might be talking about right here, right now, but maybe my own. But where they have children, and then everybody's buying the kids stuff, and
Mhm.
then who has to store all the shit? Well, mom
Yeah.
and dad do, and then our house becomes this kind of, it's almost like a and we're blessed, we're grateful. Listen, we never want to complain about first world problems, but it does become overwhelming, and it's been a point of stress for both my wife and I to try to figure out how to purge stuff, as my dad would say,
Mhm.
purge
Mhm.
purge stuff. um without being like disrespectful to the person who gave the gift. And it's just a real big messy thing. I really can identify with that. I also just want to give the dads a shout out. I mean, hello, come on,
Yeah.
fellas. Are we stepping up in the game
Yeah.
to where the complaints about the dads, you say, are decreasing?
Yeah. And I don't know if it's because it's in my group specifically, because from the beginning, like 4.5 years ago, what I noticed is a lot of like in mom groups, there's a lot of like trash talking about men and dads. And we actually
Mm.
have a rule in our group where we're like, we don't do that.
Oh, that's
If
sweet.
you, and it's not like we don't do that. My admins and I have collaborated a lot on like how to redirect the conversation of, and I always have to like walk a fine line because I'm like, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a marriage
Sure,
counselor, I'm not
sure,
a
sure,
communication specialist, but
sure,
it
sure.
sounds like you're calling your husband some names, you're making all these attacks on him, and beneath it, it's really not about your husband. You are really frustrated by the condition of your home
Yeah,
and you're not getting what you need from him. Like if you want to reframe your question, or if you like, we didn't see a question in here, it sounds like you're just trash talking him. Like,
yeah.
here's a way we can redirect the conversation.
Sounds like a recovery. We all, some people always ask me, "What's your part?
Yeah.
What's your part? What is it?" Because that's the part that we're focused. So how do you not, when you're teaching, when you're providing information, which is what Legendary Marketer is all about, and what your business is all about? It's about providing knowledge and information, and you package that in different ways. How do you deal with the mindset, but not get pulled in so deeply to people who are clearly needing more help? I mean, they need more help. I see this all the time as well. People think that, online marketing and making extra money is going to solve all of your problems. And it may not. You
Mhm.
kind of like me in recovery. I came into 12-step programs, but they had something that they called outside help. And they framed it like that, like, hey, you may be coming in here looking for help, but we may not be able to fully help you. You may need to go seek outside help. And lo and
Mhm.
behold, guess what? I needed to go seek outside help. I needed to go have therapy and go really do some good counseling, and then some marriage counseling and all kinds of outside help. So you alluded to it a second ago, but is there anything that you do to kind of prevent those kind of toxic, or to kind of educate people? Hey, this is about mindset, and I can't be. I'm not a therapist. I'm like, how do you create boundaries within your communities to know when to kick somebody out, to also know when to block somebody on social media who you want to be able to comment freely and you want to be able to respond to those pieces, but there's also there's likely a line somewhere that you draw. How do you draw those, and where are those lines at for you?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. So I will say I started drawing them like immediately when I opened up the group. And at the most basic level, it's because I wanted a group and a space where people would treat each other with like just dignity and respect, right? Because I knew people would be sharing photos of their homes. I know the internet can be a really intense and judgmental space. And just like immediately from the start, every welcome post I would do is like, this is a kind and supportive group. Like we have our first rule is be kind, take personal responsibility, no unsolicited advice or judgment. Right. So that's like the foundation of it. And then when we get people who come in with questions or situations, I can kind of like, because I only focused on one platform, right? My Facebook group. Um, I could I would kind of remember like just names and photos of people of like, this is a recurring thing,
Yeah.
or like just kind of like dog ear it and be like, make the recommendation of like, yes, this is one of the conversations that's actually been coming up after those market research calls that I had, is that people are really understanding the connection between like their mental and emotional well-being and their physical environment in the home, as well as their mental and emotional well-being and their kids' moods and like overstimulation and all of that. And so that's one of the conversations I've had a lot in the past, but really focusing on more now is oh dang, I lost my train of thought. Letting them know. I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Um, but yeah, just like letting them know that there is a connection. between your stuff and how you're feeling
Yeah.
internally, and you can declutter and get relief. And sometimes I just have to say it kind of explicitly, as you said,
Yeah.
this is beyond what I can help you with. Right.
Say what you mean what you say, but not be mean when you say it, and
Yeah.
not have to be everybody's everything. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing when we come online and we get into this kind of, I want to help people, I want to deliver value, we can get into people pleasing mode. We can get into codependency with our clients to
Mhm.
where, oh, they're upset, now I'm freaking out, or this person is an outlier, and I'm going to, instead of just setting a boundary, I'm going to try to please them, and this
Mhm.
person's unpleasable, they have more things going on, they came to me, this is a free Facebook group, or we have it all the time. Somebody takes our $7 challenge and they're entitled to a full-time ongoing life coach and business coach and all this kind
Mhm.
of stuff, and they're unhappy, and it's like, wow, I think that we may, no matter what, we just need to cut our relationship right now. Let's get you your $7 back, and let's part ways. How
Yeah.
about on social media? How do you block and deal with? I mean, do you get any negative feedback? Do you get hateful comments? How do you deal with all of the creeps and the sickos, and even just the mean people, or the time suckers and the vampires? I guess those are two different kind of people, because time suckers and vampires might not be intentionally trying to suck your time. You just have to have boundaries with them. But how do you deal with people who are both mean, but then not? How do you deal with mean people, and then how do you deal with people who you can just tell they're kicking the tires? Maybe they're DMing you, but they're not going to buy. Do you notice that your buyers don't ask questions, and that the majority of people? So let's start there. How much time are you willing to invest with somebody in DMs or whatever before they buy something from you or actually take some sort of action?
Um, so in DMs for me, like no time. I really don't spend a lot of time in there at all. Um, in the past, I did because my community was smaller, and I was treating that kind of like the way I treated those market research calls, of like just having a conversation with them. And in the beginning, I didn't mind it too much because I needed those relationships to understand like where they were at and what they needed and what they wanted. And I didn't view my DMs as a way to sell things to them. I really just viewed my DMs as relationships, and just staying connected with those moms and treating them like humans.
Yeah.
And I would sell in my Facebook group, in the comments of my Facebook group. But when people would DM me, I wouldn't just spend all of my time and energy answering their questions.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know. I would get those occasionally, but I think because in my group I was so explicit about like, here's where you get the answers, right? Here's where you can get this replay. And I think if they had a specific question, because I was creating content so fast when I first
Yeah.
started, I was doing a live video every single day. I had a huge bank of resources that I could just refer them to, of like, go watch
Right.
this if they had a specific question. But I never really used DMs as a big seller.
Okay.
But that's also, I think, partly because of my business model. My most expensive course is only $350. And it's a self-study course. So it doesn't
Yeah.
really make sense for me. If I was selling like one-on-one
Yeah.
services, then that would make more sense to me. Um, but yeah, other than that, I just refer them to the video or the training, which gets them into my sales system.
Yeah. And
Um,
let's talk about that, because
yeah.
I also want to clarify for everybody, there may be some new people who are on the call listening. We have, people that are at all points of our process and all points of our education. And some of you are on day one of our 15-day challenge. Some of you have enrolled in our blueprints and are going, how does this conversation relate to what I'm doing? I don't even know what I'm going to sell yet. Relax. We got you. We know you're out there, and we know that there's a wide variety of people in our community who are listening to this. And so Krista is somebody who's come on and is selling her own courses, right? Kind of right out of the gate. I don't even believe you did any affiliate marketing at the beginning. Did you kind of just stepped right into course creation?
Yep.
Yeah. And Krista is also an outside professional who didn't go through our training. She's somebody who's doing this business model kind of who we found and who we've brought in to interview, because there's so many ideas to collaborate on. No one person has this all figured out, is the all-knowing, omnipotent being. And if they are, then maybe they're BSing a little bit.
Mhm.
So this is a little bit of a look into somebody who is kind of, because we didn't make up these business models. I've just used them for the last 12 years, and they've been the only business models that I've used. So it's so cool that once or twice a month we can go out and connect with somebody like you who's already running these business models out, and there's thousands more. And so that, just for those of you who are understanding, maybe you just tuned in, a little bit of context about the conversation today. We talk so often about affiliate marketing in this community. And so we're just giving you a look into somebody who is using a different business model that we teach. And you can also add her to your your network. For Christmas sakes, if you're an overwhelmed mom, then you can get more value than just marketing value. But it's so nice to actually see the front of your business out there on social media, but to be able to hear about how it actually operates and how you actually make money here behind the scenes. And that's what I want to talk about next. Is basically, I want to kind of help people understand how you make money, right? So are you as you said, you're selling a lot in your Facebook group, but are you directing everybody to your opt-in page? Is that kind of the front end of where you send everybody? And I'm going to pull that up on the screen as well.
Yeah. Yes. Right now. So when I started, I sold directly from my Facebook group because Facebook groups operated a little bit differently back then. My group was smaller, so engagement was easier to kind of wrangle and keep in check. And I could do things like a live challenge in a group, and everybody would pretty much know what was going on because it was small enough. But now that, yes, that's it. um, Now that my group is pretty large, there's like 45,000 people in there. And it's so funny because sometimes I get people tagging me in my own group being like, Krista, you should join this group. And I'm like, hey, everybody, this is my group. I'm in here with you. This is my group. So it's just like, that's the nature, I think, of like a large or Facebook group, is that it's hard to keep things streamlined. And
Yeah.
so in 2021, like the end of 2021 is when I really had to start focusing on my email list, because I'm like, this isn't working like it used to work.
Yeah.
I need to streamline it. And so I've dabbled, like 2022 was a lot of trying to figure out how to streamline that email process into a really cohesive, functional, like powerful sales system, so that
Mm-hmm.
everywhere on social media, because I have my Facebook group, I do a little bit on Instagram, and my podcast. Um, and I wasn't monetizing my podcast at all until a couple months ago. And I get like 15,000 downloads a month. And my friend was horrified. She's like, you're not monetizing that? Why? I'm like, I don't know. I just didn't know how. Um, and so now the Facebook group, Instagram, and the podcast all lead to this page that you see now.
Yeah.
Which is based on the messaging that I did back in December of 23. And it leads into a really good working
I see
sales
that.
system in my email.
I see that. I see that. And I've looked a little bit at how you have this set up. It actually looks somewhat familiar to some of the concepts that we use here at Legendary as well to make an offer. But the first thing is that hold on, let me just bring up my whole my whole screen here. So the first thing, just so everybody understands, is that you're bringing people to off of Instagram most of the time, kind of sending people over to Facebook. Although it looks like, okay, they can get right in here to this opt-in page also through Instagram. It takes us right to the same place.
Yeah.
I can see that you've got this as a unique page. It's up here. So you're tracking your traffic from Instagram, and you're tracking your traffic from different traffic sources, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then once people opt in here, I had opted in just a second ago. And the email looked like this: action required, right? Please confirm your email. That's a double opt-in. And a lot of you here in the marketing world, you want to turn off this double opt-in. And it is certainly something that I've always done as well. I've turned off the double opt-in inside of, I've always used Aweber. I can see that you're using ConvertKit here. They're all just tools, doesn't matter. They all do the same thing for the most part. Why do you choose to go with double opt-in, Krista? Why do you choose to keep that turned on instead of turn that off, to not require somebody to go into their email and hit this button in order to actually be added to your list? That's what double opt-in means. Why do you have that? Why do you keep that turned on?
So for this one specifically, because I haven't always,
Okay.
it's testing, right? Because a lot of marketing is testing. I haven't always had it turned on, but I did turn it on and I tested it back in December. And this is fun. I'm glad that you went through this. I didn't know you were going to go this, but so I had two different ones where I sent it to my email list of about, at that point, like 6,000 people, of like, here's a new workshop. You can get into it. Half of them got what you see here, which is very systematic. It actually
Mhm.
sends them to, after they sign up, the thank you page says, go check your email. They get this email, right?
Right.
And then they click on this, and then it's like, okay, great. Now go check your email one more time to get the actual video.
Mm.
I did that. It's like 4 steps, but it's because I wanted to train my audience to look for my emails like
Okay.
immediately.
Okay.
And there was a really big difference in the amount of people who purchased. The people who had the double opt-in, that sequence converted at like 10%. That was a warm audience, by the way. So
Yeah.
warm audience. But
Okay.
the other one only converted at like 2.5%. And the
Nope.
views on it were much lower. And so for that reason, right now, I'm keeping it.
Okay.
But in the past, I haven't. So it was a test.
Yeah.
And
It's a
that was like, I should keep that in right now.
You just said the magic word. It's a test. I love your answer, because what your answer told me, and hopefully it told everybody else, is there's no one way to skin a cat. There's not only one way. There's different approaches. You can test different things, and you'll be amazed by what sometimes those tests will tell you, what you'll learn from those tests. What the marketing industry, like our niche, has always kind of thought or known about double opt-in versus not double opt-in, is this: that you're going to get a more qualified lead if you keep double opt-in on. Why? Because they got to go back to their email to actually confirm that they want to be on the list. And then usually once they click this button, yes, it's me and I want the free training, then it's going to bring them back. Oh, it's going to say your free video training is on its way to your email inbox. I can see that. So now you're sending you're sending your audience back to the email inbox. And that's when they get this: welcome, here's your link to the free training and important info you need. So I want to go through this real quick, because there's some important parts here to this. If you're selling a course, there's some really key elements here. You say, thank you for signing up for how to have a home that's peaceful, inspires creativity, and is easy to clean up. We've jam-packed this video with info, so I'm sure you'll be happy that you signed up. Now, by the way, when she says this video, it's a sales video that delivers training and value at the beginning before she makes an offer. Right, Krista?
Yes.
And that's an important thing to understand, that when we give away free gifts on the internet, like you're doing right here, remember, they opted in for a free gift. Let's go back to the free training. This is the landing page: how to have a home that is peaceful, creative, and is easy to clean up. Here's what you'll learn. The free gift is a free video training, right? It's a free, she's framing it, you're framing it as a workshop, as a free video training. And then when we come in here, we finally get the email after going through the double opt-in and confirming that it's us and that we really want this stuff. You can access this free training by clicking right here, as well as the checklist to get started decluttering. Quick note though, be sure to watch. This is so brilliant, Krista. Be sure to watch the full video soon. Access to the video will cease in 4 days. Why? First, we know that mom life gets crazy. You might not have time this exact moment to watch the video, so we've given you 4 days. The moms who have the most success take action. Parkinson's law says that work will expand to fill the time allotted for its completion, which means the more time you give yourself, the longer it will take, potentially forever and a day. As you know, what helps make taking action a priority? Deadlines. If you want to hear it in a more gentle way, it's a clear boundary for your time and mind. Seriously, there's no way I'd be successful at simplifying my motherhood and home without clear boundaries set for how I spend my time. So with much love, I'm giving you a deadline. This is the first and very easy step on your path to success. God, this copy is so good, Krista.
Thank you.
It's so good. So here's the video. Now we're to this free gift that we opted in for: how to have a home that is peaceful, inspires creativity, and is easy to clean up, even if you're a mom with little time, energy, or day-to-day support. And they can click on it, and it's an hour and 28-minute workshop. You're delivering a lot of information in, and if they're ready to get started, and of course, they've got 4 days to do so, they're going to click here. They're going to read a quick kind of summary, I guess, or a long form sales letter. You've put that in. They've got two options here. One, okay, is a full pay and one's a 2-pay. Okay, got it. So I want to enroll full pay. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to fill out the information. You're hosting this on what?
Thinkific.
Thinkific. You can brand it yourself and use your own domain with Thinkific. And do you host your course in Thinkific also?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about all of you watching, but this is, and you know what's interesting? If we go over here to onlinebusinessbuilderchallenge.com, which is where we sell our challenge, Krista, you can see a lot of the same elements in terms of the copy for anyone who wants to start a profitable online business but doesn't know where to begin, right? You're calling out the thing that they want, right? You're calling out the thing that they want, but you're also acknowledging the big elephant in the room, which is that they don't know where to begin, right? They don't, and with you over here, you're acknowledging, even if you're a mom with little, keyword, little time, energy, or day-to-day support. And so what did I miss about this? What have you tried? How did you come up with the idea to give them a time limiter with the timer? And what other pieces are important to know about how this works, and really what makes this convert sales versus just kind of a video that you put up over on YouTube and you send people to it, or even a video on a blank page that you just send people to it. They can kind of go watch it whenever they want. They can kind of enroll whenever they want. Talk to us about your thought process about setting this up.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad that you asked. So back in December, when I was like, okay, I have to figure out what's not working and I have to figure out how to make this work, right? Because I want my business to work and grow. And when we were talking about shiny objects, one of the things that I realized was a disconnect in my business was the difference between just creating content and nurturing my audience and wanting to like give them value, but not really having a strong like sales system behind it. What I realized for me, a big gap was I didn't understand what copywriting was. So thank you for acknowledging the copy on that page. And I actually took a course on copywriting, only copywriting. Like my decision was like, I see the gap. I can get people to come listen to my podcast and they like it and they like me as a person. But there's a disconnect now in how I sell things. And I think part of it was because when I started off and I was small enough, and my audience was small enough, they would know me enough to where they would buy stuff because it was like me and they could see my face and they would buy things from me in that way, which is kind of like throwing spaghetti at a wall. It works and it will stick. But once you grow to a certain point, you have to have systems in place. So I took a copywriting course and I learned how to just write copywriting. And the lady who I learned from, her name's Nikki Krozik. Highly recommend. She's got 2 courses on copywriting. But that's what I did. So if you teach copywriting too, like specific, I just wanted, I didn't want.
It doesn't, it's such an important skill that I don't care where anybody learns it from, just as long as you learn it. Because without it, you're, like, as you say, how big of a difference has it made in your business?
Everything. And I didn't even know that copywriting was words specifically designed for getting people to take action or, buy things. I just didn't, it was a definition. It was a word in my vocabulary that didn't exist.
Yeah.
That when I heard it in December, I was like, I have to learn how to be a really good copywriter.
Yeah.
I have to know, I know, and not that I need to have a copywriting business, but I
No.
need to know how to write compelling copy.
Copywriting is really just, as you said, it's words that get people to take action, and it's words that sell. It's words that influence. It's words that connect. But ultimately, the main goal, the difference between content and copy, is that copy has a different goal, a different intention, and that's to get you to take action in a very specific direction. And even to take it a step further, direct response marketing coupled with copywriting is exactly that. It's words that sell and persuade the reader to take a specific action. Now let's 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 go back here and let's test the audience. Okay, let's test the audience. All right. So, audience, what do you think the number one intention on this page of the copy? What is the goal of the copy that Krista wrote for this page right here? What is the goal? There's only one goal. Only one goal. Now I would have to stop sharing my screen in order to see the comments. But I wonder if anybody has said, can you see the comments, Krista?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm sure many of you are
Oh,
guessing.
wait. I might be able to.
You guessed it correctly. If you said,
Oh, yeah.
please. What'd they say? Who guessed it? It's not a trick question, my friends.
Many people to take action, get the email, sign up for the video, capture the email, get on her list, get on her list.
Get on her list.
Yes,
Get on her
sign
list.
up.
Capture the email. Capture the email. That's the number one. So you might look at a page like this, and this is a longer form opt-in page. I mean, this really is. This is a landing page that has quite a bit of copy. Is there a particular reason, Krista, why you chose to go with this much copy on your landing page?
Honestly, the answer is that when I chose to learn that skill of copywriting, I was really excited and I was confident, and I felt like every word that I said was going to resonate with them. And so every word on the page is relevant to them and what they want and need.
Nice.
And so it's that long.
Based on the you getting on the phone. And when we say market research, isn't it just, it's what, most people's head. I'm glad you really clarified what market research was for you in December, because it wasn't a fancy software. It wasn't Chat GPT. It wasn't, Google. It wasn't, it was, hey, Facebook group. Hey, TikTok profile. Hey, Instagram happened to be your Facebook group, but hey, I'd like to give away a free training on XYZ that will help you with XYZ if we can get on a Zoom real quick and I can ask you 4 questions.
Yep.
Right. So the market research it wasn't Chat GPT, it wasn't software, it was getting on the phone. And from those, or getting on Zoom or the phone, whatever, from those conversations, you had all of these beautiful words that you could now use in your new passion of copywriting. And so that makes a lot of sense. What else did you change everything as you were developing your copywriting skills over the last 3 months or so? Did you change your emails as well? Did you rewrite your emails? Did you even rewrite your this copy as well, and the copy even inside of your webinar presentation? I mean, how far have you taken this?
Everywhere. I took it everywhere.
Even this long form sales page that they click after they watch your workshop?
Yep. And I have somewhere, I would have to find it. I have my old sales page, and it's kind of embarrassing. And it's kind of embarrassing to see how pretty terrible my old one was, but it's also so clear on why it wasn't working, because I had a lot of words and, but they weren't really saying much.
Wow.
And I think it's kind of, I think in a lot of times in marketing, we talk about like just making small iterations, small adjustments toward what you want. And what I realized is in 2022, I was going through trying to fix these things, and I was making small iterations and adjustments to my sales pages and my emails in the backwards direction, right? Because I didn't know what they were talking about. And so, yeah, I changed the way that I do my emails because I realized in my emails, I was basically showing up as a friend, which is great, right?
Mm.
Unless you want to have a business where you're making money.
What do you need to be, or what are you now? How do you position yourself more now?
Still as their friend, I think that's the great thing about really good copy is that I feel like I connect with my audience even better than I did before, just on a personal level.
Yeah.
But I'm also getting them to take action on the things that are right for them. And I'm getting them at the solution, which is my course, which I do believe in and I
Yeah.
know it works. And so I think I'm showing up with clearer boundaries around that. But also, the thing that's exciting about this is that I'm like, I want to give more to people who pay me. And this allows me to do that because there's a clear path for the sale, there's a clear path into my paid customer pool.
Yes.
And because my copy and my messaging is clear, everyone who's not a paying customer yet is still feeling like they're understood, they're seen, they
Yeah.
are supported.
Right.
I changed my podcasts. So all my podcast episodes are centered around everything on the sales page. All my
Hmm.
emails centered around that. It's all congruent. Yeah. Did
I
that
love
answer?
it.
I think it answered.
Way more than answered. I mean, you went from friend to strategist, and
Yeah.
also you went from friend. Also, I think there's a mindset shift of, you know, look, we believe more in what we're selling and what we're doing as time goes on, the more we do it. And the less we feel compelled to do everything for free and kind of help everybody. And the more we say, look, I've got this place for everybody, including people that don't buy, but I've got this over here, which is my product, which is what I sell. And I believe that it's worth every single dime. And I'm going to, without apology and without compunction, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to tell you to go enroll in it. I'm going to also invest in it to make it better over time. These are all things that I've gone through. We do here at Legendary, and I can tell you that they're very parallel with what works. I mean,
Mhm.
the more we grow a community or a business online, you're going to have these you're going to have pockets or pools or buckets of people. Some people are going to go all in. They're going to want everything from you. They're just going to love you. And the more you make it easy for them to give you money, the more money they're going to give you
Mhm.
for because they just want to buy everything that you have, right? There's a small percentage of people that do that. There's a larger percentage of people that will buy your mid to high tier product, your course, a few hundred, few $1,000s. There's a large 5, 10, maybe 15-ish, if you're lucky, 20, but somewhere probably around that 10 to 15% of your audience, if you're nurturing them, will buy your mid to high tier thing. And a large percentage of your audience is always just going to be followers.
Mhm.
It's just going to be people who are there just to hang out. They're sitting on the sidelines. They're maybe getting ready to get ready. They're maybe going to make a decision in the future. But creating a space for them to hang out, creating a space for them to feel seen, they will become your cheerleaders as well. They'll become your evangelist, not just the people who buy something from you, but also the people who don't. So I love that you acknowledge those people. You've got a space for them. And we do the similar thing here at Legendary. We do have boundaries, though. I mean, it is. I think most people who don't buy the blueprints know I made a decision not to buy all that. So I'm not going to be too entitled, but we still try to meet people where they're at. And I get the feeling that you do the same thing. And I think that's the best approach. There's no better way to do it. It's just kind of part of the business. And creating those spaces, I find that people will eventually convert over. Many of those people, if you just let them marinate and kind of let them hang out, let them attend your free trainings, let them be a cheerleader, that's fine. Eventually, many of them will convert into something, as
Mhm.
long as you continue to make it easy for them to enroll. And that's one of the things that I like about your sales process here. You make it clear and easy about what you're selling, and there's also a time frame, a deadline that you've given people to be able to do this. Are you using deadline funnel for
Mhm.
you are?
Yeah. Yes. And that was another shift that I made in December of like, I got to make sales and I I've watched other businesses do this, and I didn't want to fall into it because I've fallen into it before, where I get kind of desperate and I'm like, okay, I guess the way that I'm going to sell this is to throw it up for a huge discount and hope that people buy.
Yeah.
And kind of what I was mentioning about like having copy that you believe in, like when I look at the
Yeah.
sales page and I like break down what they're going to get from either the video or the sales page itself,
Right.
and I see what I'm laying out for them, I'm like, I know that's exactly what they get in the course. So it's
Yeah.
easy for me to sell it. Um,
You feel more
but
convicted about it for sure.
yeah,
I want to check in on time. I know we only
yep,
got you for an hour, but we're going 7 minutes over here. And do we need to bring this airplane in for a landing?
I'm okay.
I mean, we only got, I don't want to take you for too much longer, but if you got a hard deadline right now,
Mhm.
and we can end right now.
No, we're okay. I have a
Okay.
couple things that I wrote down that just to like wrap things up, but
Yeah.
my
I
husband's
mean,
home and helping, so I'm good.
woo, yay for dads
Yes.
crushing the game. I love
Yes.
it. So just a couple of things on your tech stack, tech
Yeah.
setup here. So well, I can always go to the source code with a lot of these things and kind of, look if
WordPress.
you're using WordPress. Okay, fantastic. You're using WordPress. There it is.
Yep.
All your
Elementor, WordPress,
and then and then
ConvertKit.
get and then ConvertKit for your email, send your email autoresponders, and I guess ConvertKit also acts as like a CRM where you can kind
Mhm.
of do more than just email people.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit technically challenged myself personally, so I don't get into all talking about features, bells and whistles of software, but ConvertKit, Aweber, Infusionsoft, they all have got, some are a little heavier. Infusionsoft Get Response is mainly just an email autoresponder, and that's all you need at first. But you're selling courses, so you've got a WordPress blog, which is Motherhood Simplified, and then you've got a sales page that you're using Elementor, which is the theme on WordPress, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then you're using Thinkific to host your courses,
Mhm.
and you're using Deadline Funnel, which is a software that you tie in and connect with everything kind of magically. The tech, you kind of pray to the tech gods, they come
Yes.
down and they connect everything for you, and then they go back up. Deadline Funnel ties into everything, and actually, when that timer expires, this page will kind of go, it will all of a sudden, if you land on it and it's expired, it will no longer show the offer, basically. So
Yeah.
the person really has, and these time limiters, you see us doing it at Legendary as well. We give people 48 hours when they come through to buy our business blueprints. We give them 4 blueprints for the price of one. The 4 core business models, we give them 4 for the price of one, if they take advantage within that time frame. And that's a real kind of important thing, to give people a deadline. You're saying, hey, I'm going to give you until this amount of time. I'm going to throw these bonuses in, or I'm going to do this extra for you, or give you this deal as a first time customer of mine. And it really makes people take more action. When you integrated this deadline funnel piece in the timer, was that when you kind of revamped the copy, or was that either earlier or later? And how did that affect conversions?
So I've used timers. I actually used Deadline Funnel a couple years ago as well. And I don't think I knew enough of what I was doing back then to know if it really worked, but it does work now. And
Mhm.
part of it, I think, is partly the software, right? Like it will redirect them so that they literally can't get to the one-time offer. But for
Mhm.
me, it came down to boundaries, which we've talked a lot about,
Mhm.
and my own integrity of saying like, this is the only time you'll get a discount like this. So kind of like the reason that I have the double opt-in is to get a higher quality lead, to build some trust, to like get them to be like, okay, yes, I want this. Yes, I'm in it with you, right?
Yeah.
I want that deadline there for this one-time offer as well, so that it's another layer of trust of like, she says, or she does what she says, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't double back on it. She doesn't throw things up for discount. I don't want my people, you know, buying something from me at full price and then getting an email later finding out that it's at a discount and being like disappointed or
Totally.
upset or eroding that trust in me.
Totally.
So that's why I use that. And it works because I do believe in that. And you saw it in the copy of like, when people have deadlines,
Yeah.
they take action. And because I believe in the copy and everything that I have here, I know that them taking action is what's best for them and it's what's best for me, as long as it's what they want.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been so helpful to be able to kind of go through and I know you didn't know I was going to do that, and I know, but thank you for
It's
kind
kind of
of
scary. I'm glad it
well,
all works.
I yeah, 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 exactly. I mean, but isn't it cool to have something that you built and you created and you stood or sat hunched over the laptop or computer putting it all together, obsessing about this font or moving this piece over, and then now people come and not only are buying but are also observing, learning from it. I mean, it's really I don't know how that makes you feel. I wonder if you could just say a couple of things about your own self-esteem and how it's grown through this journey. I know mine, there were a lot of self-esteem surprising boosters over the years that were like, me? Little, just like a guest a couple of days ago. She was like, she was surprised by how people were responding to little old me, out there, like, wow, y'all are liking what I'm saying, like learning stuff. So how has your self-esteem grown? And then I'd like to hear what other little notes or bullets that you had mentioned that you want to mention before we wrap up. But talk briefly about your own self-esteem and how that's grown through, doing this wonderful work that you're doing and having people buy in and observe and learn.
Yeah. First, I'm glad that you pulled through all of those links and clicked on them all because they're all working and the emails are working. And I will say that hasn't always been true, right? My sales pages have been very ugly. Like I should go back and find like screenshots of them somewhere where I can see how terrible they used to be. But they were ugly and they were not functional and the links were broken or my emails don't work or my email links are broken. And I don't know, it can feel pretty discouraging to have to like figure out how to do that stuff and be like, oh man, I suck at tech. Cause I do too.
I still
I
do.
suck at tech. Um, and then if you're not clear on your messaging and things like that, it makes tech feel a lot harder because you're like, what am I doing? But as far as the self-esteem part, I think it is closely tied with what you're creating and what you build. And um, it's definitely better now. And I think if I can just reiterate anything, it would be one of the things in my notes of that I wanted to bring to wrap up is like, don't be entitled in your own business when it comes to things like DMs or comments or emails or people reaching out to you, because that's one of the biggest reasons I think I had the success that I did is that I would hear people all the time being like, I got to turn off my DMs, right? I just don't have time for it, right? Or, oh my gosh, there's people messaging me all the time and I just can't. Then they're like telling their followers basically, I don't have time for you, right? And I'm like, I don't ever want to be that, right? And yes, it's true. Like, I really don't have time to respond to everybody all of the time. But if you just don't come at it, I think from a place of like entitlement of like, I don't have to respond to these people because they are still people. They
Yeah.
are still your community and they do
Yeah.
have a lot of valuable information. If you can just approach it as a conversation, like that's a gift for you to have people that are interested enough in what you offer to message you, right? And like talk to you and hear more about what it is that you have to offer. It'll take your business really far and it will give you that confidence and build that self-esteem if you don't approach it from like, I don't have time for people. I don't have time for messages. I'm too busy for emails, which we are, right? We can't respond to every single thing, but even just acknowledging the fact that people are reaching out to you, they want to talk to you, what you're creating is exactly what they want. And if you can line up those conversations that they start with you, or even if you start it with them, to your sales pages and your content and your copy, it feels better and you start to make those sales. And it's definitely, I think there's a big correlation between self-esteem and your sales. Because if you're not making sales, you're like, well, that's the whole point of this, right?
Yeah.
So just approach it as a test, right? Just look at what you've tried. I think that was the biggest thing I did in December was like, what have I been trying? What have I been doing? What
Mm.
isn't working? Where's the gap, right? The gap is messaging with my audience. The gap is a skill set that I need, which is copywriting, which I didn't fully understand until December. Um, and it does build your self-esteem. So,
Yeah.
um,
What else do we need to hear from you this morning, or did you intend on sharing before we wrap up? Because I want to be respectful of Daddy up there, who's taking care of the
All of
gang
the
of
kids.
five.
The basketball team. I think the only other thing that I had written down that we kind of touched on, it's like rewinding back to the middle of the conversation, is boundaries within social media. And I would just want to say, yes, use the block button freely. It's easy to do when you have clear boundaries in place of like how your community treats each other, how people treat you, enforcing those boundaries,
Yeah,
and then using the block button, remove button freely in order to like protect the integrity of everybody else in the group, because there's always going to be outliers who just aren't a good fit.
yeah,
In my group, that usually looks like people who want to be extremist, like extremist minimalism, like think that everybody's ruining the planet if they have stuff, right? And it's
yeah,
just like, that's just it's just not a good fit for us.
yeah,
And be willing to, again, like have those conversations with people to kind of redirect and guide the engagement in the group of like how you treat people. um don't be above like engaging with people and redirecting conversations. But I think that's a whole nother skill set, which I openly say, like, I am not a mediator, I'm not a marriage person, but sometimes it's like, this isn't a clutter issue, this is a marriage issue, this is a boundary issue, this is a,
totally.
you need to set boundaries with your in-laws issue. Right?
Yes.
Not a clutter issue. It looks like it on the surface, but it's not. um yeah.
And ultimately, what I hear you saying is, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're the entrepreneur and you're the boss and you're facilitating all this, you are the one in charge, and you can regain control over everything that you're doing. If you have to give somebody a boot, you don't have to put up with their stuff, and you don't have to be their doctor, marriage counselor, whatever. If you're in I mean, which ultimately you're in the decluttering niche, you're just targeting moms, which is also so brilliant, right? It's like, to me, that is one of the things that I'm glad it came out right here. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, I tell people all the time, like, yes, like it's just decluttering, like that's all we're doing, but there's so much potential, like, to go beneath the surface. But I
Sure.
can always go there with you, right?
Well, and there's ways to redirect people to those, and I think when you facilitate a simple community focused on a simple thing, the beautiful part is other members of the community begin to start coming in and helping you to police and helping you to facilitate and guide. And I think you're getting to that point, and I think
Yeah.
that where you are at that point now, and I think that probably also feels pretty good to have people who have your back, who are clients or members of your community, to help you reinforce and re-clarify your message and kind of refocus everybody in your
Mhm.
community.
Yes, they do. It's amazing. People who I
Yeah.
don't even like personally know, if there's an outlier
Yeah.
post or a conversation
Yeah.
where people kind of start dogpiling, it's immediate. People are
Yeah.
like, we don't do
Yeah.
this in here.
Yeah. And
I
that's,
noticed that you have the like new person tag, and we don't do this in here.
yeah.
And then I'll get tagged, and it's as simple as redirecting. And
Yeah.
most people are receptive to that because it's about how you it's how you approach it, right? Hey,
Yeah.
like, I know the internet is like the Wild West and people do this in other spaces, but we don't do it in here.
And what the final thing I'll say, and then we'll get you out of here. It's so in line with what you just said, which is, at all costs, don't be rude or passive aggressive to people.
Yes.
Because I see so many content creators and people who want to like lead people. They're saying they can help people, but then simultaneously, either in their content or in the comments, they're being mean to people. They're being passive aggressive. They're trying to put people in their place because they're the knowledgeable one, and kind of like talk down to people or be condescending to people. And I'll tell you what, if you do that, you may feel like you got one over on somebody, or you put somebody in your place. But 100 of your followers saw you act like that, or saw you respond to somebody like that, and they will then be afraid to ask a question.
Mhm.
They will not no longer feel safe in, because the very person they're there to follow came in and kind of like talk down to somebody or put somebody in their place. Like, it's really about, I've learned over my years, as you're saying, Be kind. Don't be afraid to get in there. Be approachable. Don't be too good to respond to something. Don't be too good as the leader or the knowledgeable, the one who's the guru. Don't be afraid to not know. That's the other thing, which again is a whole nother conversation. Look, this is like been once again incredible. Like we're 22 minutes over, Krista.
Sorry, everybody.
No, sorry to your husband who's up there with the basketball team, but we'll let you go, and maybe we can get you to come back for another episode in the future. We'll continue to talk about. I'm excited to see where the evolution of your copy really goes, because it's not going to stop there. You're obsessed now about right, but you see it. You see the importance of these marketing pieces inside of the business, and it's like I just love. I love how you explain it. I love what you're doing, and I love also how much you've been willing to risk and test and ask for permission and forgiveness later rather than kind of asking for it all up front. So thanks, and we'll let you go. Any final words for the audience who's sitting there maybe skeptical about that they can do this? One final word of inspiration or motivation from you, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah. I mean, you're here and you're learning. So that means that you want to do it. And if you want to do it, that's pretty much all the proof you need that you can do it and you can figure it out. You just have to keep trying to figure it out. And thanks for hanging out. If you are our mom, come declutter with us and we'll see you over there.
All right, Krista. Thanks so much. Right. We'll talk to you later. All right.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, my friends, you can go follow Krista at motherhoodsimplified.com and, of course, find her Facebook group. You can also go and follow her. We've got her Instagram over at motherhood_simplified. And really, really just a cool person to follow and learn and be on this journey with. We sometimes we find people who are like co-students or peers here in Legendary. If we're going through the education together, sometimes it's like somebody who we can watch from a distance and kind of follow them and watch their journey. Maybe they're a couple of steps ahead of us. Krista would be somebody who's a couple of steps ahead of most of you, and you can kind of watch her and see what she does from a marketing standpoint. Now that you've heard the conversation behind the scenes, it's again, where are my glasses? We put on the marketing lenses, man. We when we put on oh my gosh, I see the world through totally different eyes now. No longer am I only a consumer, but I'm also somebody who's doing commerce. I'm a creator, right? So that's really the big hope for doing a show like this, is that you all can see, wow, here's a creator that is out there on the internet creating videos about decluttering, targeting moms. Wow. But now let's talk about the back end, the marketing side of her business, how she's making money from it. And she is making money from it, pretty significant income. So, my friends, we'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode. Hopefully lots to marinate on and think about. And of course, get in there and take action and invest in you. These skills are the most important skills you'll develop, I believe, in this decade. Right? I believe in this decade. I know that's a big claim, but I really do believe that they were the most important skills that I learned last decade, and they're still the most important skills to know this decade, right? And I started learning them in 2009. The best time to plant a tree was then. The second best time to plant a tree is now. Be legendary, my friends. Get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode.